everybody, and welcome to Let's Talk Live with Julia. I have Dr. Lilian Odera with me. And I'm just going to have her on the screen for us today for now. So this is Dr. Lilian Odera. And today we were going to have a conversation just a little bit about adapting to change and about her awesome book, Dare to Dance in the Rain. First of all, I love the title, Dr. Lilian. I just love the title. So, so everybody, welcome again. We are delayed because of technical issues. We couldn't get Zoom to stream properly on some of the devices that we had. So anyway, we're going to work with this because the point is actually Dr. Lilian sharing us a little bit of her story. So welcome, my friend.
Thank you.
Yeah. So let's just start straight out. How did you choose Dare to Dance in the Rain?
Oh my goodness. This is a book. This is my baby. Dare to Dance in the Rain is really a series of testimonies and life experiences of my own personal journey. That I really, as a spiritual and God-centered person, I really felt the unction of God to speak about, what God has guided me through over the course of my life, really. Because typically I'm a very private person, so I prefer to keep my business to myself. But a few years ago, God challenged me to just share some of the experiences I've had over the course of my life and how that could be an encouragement to somebody, because a lot of times, especially on social media, people just talk about what's going well and what's happening, the good parts of our lives. And God challenged me to also, especially with all the different hats I wear, to also share what the journey has been when I've been in the trenches, when I've been in the storm, when I've been in the rain, and how I made it through. Because people always think, you look just good, you're doing great, and that's where you've been. And God just spoke to me and said, you're a worshiper, because that's one of my primary hats. And as a musician, how can you encourage somebody who's been where you've been and can still sing a song, can still raise a song, can still be joyful and celebrate? So it was not an easy thing to do, because it's a pseudo autobiography of my life. It has a lot of my personal business in there. But I'm glad that encourages somebody. So that's why I decided that was, dancing in the rain. I was going to go dancing with the storm, but I was like, no, it rains a lot. It doesn't always storm.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. When we moved to Florida, I was so excited to know that you were already in town. I think you were in town when we moved here.
Yes.
And I could not believe the blessing, because I've known you. I was trying to trace how far we've known each other, and it's weird because of how we got connected at the beginning, and it's been decades. It's been at least probably 20 something years.
Yeah, it's been 20 some years.
Yeah. And finding you doing the work that I was interested in, because when I met you, when we moved here and I started grad school, you were already in the psych field.
Right.
Yeah, you were already working. You were an educator. I think at the time you were doing working with seniors, geriatric psychology.
Yes. I had a practice. I was doing geriatric work, and I was also working at Florida International University, because I've always loved working with college-age students. So it was really a big span of having, emerging adults, 17, 18-year-olds, and having 80-year-olds. So I kind of spanned the whole age range of everybody. But that's when we met, because yes, you were in grad school at that time.
Yeah, when we moved down, I was like, finally, because we had kind of known the same people in the worship Christian music circles.
Yes.
And I think the thing that really moved me a lot was your passion for working with people and for being interested in how the mind, the heart, behavior, emotions, how all that meshes together, and how we can be healed as whole beings. And the fact that you are a Christian, a believer, a strong one, and a speaker and a preacher. The first question I had on that line today was really, how did you get to be okay with doing psychology as a Christian? Because remember how we've had all these mixtures of, oh, you can't do psychology if you're a Christian because blah, 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 the mind versus the spirit. So talk a little bit about that. How was the process for you moving into the hardcore psych field?
I don't think I have, a really nicely wrapped with a bow kind of response to that. The way some people are like, I always wanted to. I can say I always wanted to. I just found myself gravitating, and I know this sounds cliche, towards being a really a good listener, paying attention to what's not being said, watching people's body language, and even observing my own body language and figuring out how I filter what I want to say and how that affects how people relate. I was just curious about the human mind and behavior.
Yeah.
And having been in ministry just like you, probably since CU days or since childhood, I
Yeah.
was very familiar with how the spiritual aspect of life goes, but I had not really fully immersed myself in how that connects with our human behavior and how we do life. So I wanted to know the intersection because I'd had my own journey of trauma as a child. And I was trying to make sense of some of my own stuff and saying, why do I do this? Why do I think like this? Why do people in my family? I had a lot of questions.
Yeah.
And naturally, from being the family I'm from, there was an expectation to go to med school or pharmacy school or law school. But I was curious about human behavior. So I decided from the get-go, I know I'm an outlier. From my freshman year, I was a psych major.
Yeah. Wow.
And I stuck to it. I just couldn't decide whether I wanted to fully go into academia and be a professor, tenure and all that, or whether I wanted to do research, whether I wanted to practice. And I'm doing all of it. And I know you asked me, going back to your question, how the intersection of that in ministry, I couldn't divorce my spirituality and my passion for God from doing this. So it took a few years before I found where that intersection is, but it's the most beautiful thing to just see how God has deposited things in us about how we think, how we behave, that medicine is only discovering, but has always such a God deposited thing, but we're just figuring it out now. I think it's the coolest thing.
Yeah. Wow.
Mhm.
So share a little bit about adapting to change, because this being Women's History Month, they're all dealing with change, constant change. And you have had quite an amazing ability and seasons of change, moving from different locations, and just adapting to the change in your life. What advice would you give to somebody facing that? And maybe share a little bit about your own experience on some of the things that you've used to adapt to change.
Absolutely. Change, we say change is the only constant in life. Somebody said that. And adaptability is one of the most important assets I think anybody can have, especially as women. We're constantly changing physically. We're constantly changing cognitively. Family structure forces us to change. Career forces us to change. And anybody who has a desire for growth and who has ambition has to embrace adaptability and change. I actually, in the book, in my book, I've probably talked about how rigidity can be a hindrance, and how fear of change can really stagnate us. And that's been one of the anchors of my life, that I have to be malleable, I have to be flexible, because I am ambitious, I'm passionate, I'm a risk taker. I'm always curious about things. And when people say you can't do it, that's when I'm like, and why not? Why not me? So I have, especially living in this country, as you know, where we deal with intersectionalities of identities, and where some of us are minoritized. So you're a woman, it's Women's Month. So you can't do this. You're a woman of color, you can't do this. You're Black, you can't do this. You're an immigrant, you can't do this. You're an African immigrant woman, you can't do this. So instead of, kind of cowering down and going into a corner, for me, my journey has been one of saying, I'm gonna give it a shot. At least I tried.
Yeah.
And change in that regard is not easy, especially for women. But when we get in there, we give it our all. So I think resilience is really a core piece for most women. It's just that some of us don't know that we have it. And in my own journey, adaptability has been so necessary because I found myself immersed in spaces where I was the only fill in the blank, whatever it is. And first, when I got to grad school, it was, I was like, okay, people didn't even know where I went to school. They were like, what school is that? I was with the creme de la creme of the country. And I said, well, why not me? And so I took that and ran with that my whole career. As you know, from our personal conversations, I've lived, I think, in 5 different states in different corners of the country. And a lot of times people ask me, why would you do that? Who do you know there? Why would you want to go there? And I'm like, no, you have to challenge yourself to go to uncharted places. Adaptability is about going to territories nobody has explored. And at least I can say I tried rather than say I never put my foot out of the water. And as the women who will be listening to this later, I dare you to do those things that they're saying, people from where you're from don't do that. People who look like you don't do that. And you will be surprised at how people will open doors and create space for you because you dared to ask, why can't I sit at this table?
Yes.
It is not easy, but the belief has to come from the inside that you can adapt, that you can, one of my mantras in life is, I was not called to fit in.
Wow.
I was called to stand out. So I embrace being different. And when people are curious about it, I'm like, this is a moment for you to learn something new. I don't cower down and say, well, I don't align with where the fabric is moving.
Yeah.
No, I'm not here to blend in. And so, God did, I say in the book, God did not create duplicates.
That's true. Amen.
God is too sophisticated for that level of simplicity.
Yes.
So I embrace my authenticity. I embrace how different I am. I occupy those spaces. I raise my voice. About adapting to change, it means you have to be prepared for some people will laugh at you.
Yes.
Some people will try to knock you down. Some people will really speak into your ear about you're not the right fit. And I create spaces for myself in those places. So change is something I love. I wouldn't say I always go there, without any fear. No, you have to have courage because courage is doing it while afraid. And
yes.
I'm usually afraid, but that has not stopped me from stepping out there.
Amen. You preached a whole sermon right there. That's an entire sermon just right there. You are not created, to blend in, because that's what we do as women. So to all the ladies watching this and the men who love them, that's exactly what we are taught as girls, even though people don't know. Make yourself smaller. Don't be big. Don't speak up. Be quiet. In fact, right now, the debate has been about women. Some women keep quiet because they want to hear a different voice, and it's not that woman. So it's a challenge for us now that I think, Dr. Lilian, you've given us about don't blend in. Be who God created you to be, and occupy the space that you're supposed to be in and you're called to. So the other question I want to ask you, one of our favorite coaches, she's Lisa Nichols. She talks about she-go, the ego, but the female one, the she-go. And she says one of the ways she got to where she is learning to let go of her she-go, meaning her ego, to learn from anybody, anywhere, at any time. And that's one of the problems we have as women because of trying to shrink ourselves. And sometimes also maybe having a lot of pride also at the same time, saying, I can't learn from that person, or feeling, I don't want to go to this area to learn because those people are different. They don't look like me. They don't talk like me. I feel weird in this room because I don't feel qualified. So I don't want to learn from that. But that's a concept of letting go of the she-go and learning and getting the information from wherever you can.
Yes.
So that for me has spoken a lot about not making myself little and not shutting myself out of rooms that God might have opened the door, even though there's nobody else who looks like me there. So
love it.
Yeah. So talk. What does that mean for you? The whole she-go and how to balance or let it go so that we can actually learn, adapt, grow, explore, become our greatest selves that we can be, that God created us to be.
Oh, that's good stuff. I love that. Well, how do I say this? Teachability for me is the best, is one of the tools. I always say everybody needs a toolbox.
Yes.
And teachability is one of the things in my toolbox. And I know you and I are ministers. So one of my favorite scriptures is in Isaiah 50, verse 4, that talks about God, give me the tongue of a disciple, or give me a teachable tongue. Another version says, give me a tongue that is a learned tongue, that I may know when to speak a word to him who is weary.
Wow.
Right there, you can take that out and take it and give it to a coach. God, give me a teachable tongue that I may know when to speak a word to him who is weary. Because sometimes we speak, but we speak out of turn. Because we've not taken time to shut down the she-go.
Woo! I'm loving this. Even if I'm the only one listening for a second. Oh my gosh, this is just for me.
This is for us.
Yes.
Because you will get humbled in some rooms when somebody says, girl, take a seat. You know, and I do not want to be shut down in a place, in a way that will humiliate me, because I did not have a teachable tongue to know when to shush. Because if I can be quiet, I learn from my 6-year-old nephew. You know, he teaches me something. You and I talk a lot, and I'm constantly learning from you. It has nothing to do with age. It has nothing to do with how many degrees people have. It has nothing to do with the color of their skin, their ethnicity, their gender. There's a lesson from an ant, a tiny little ant, but it's about the mindset of teachability, because then it teaches you timing. It's not, I have gathered this knowledge and I need to do a dump, because sometimes we suffocate people because our she-go is leading. But we can hang on to the content and know timing and when we need to deposit that, because then you're surprised about who in the room can teach you. One of the things I've loved about being in university and college systems is how much I've learned from my students.
Yes.
I teach them, but at the end of the semester, I give them an opportunity and I let them know what I learned from them. And as women, it's really important to be in a posture of being taught and being a recipient. Now, you can go back. I always tell my students, you may not like my style, you may not like my approach, but I hold a grade. At the end of your education, you can weed out the things that may not be applicable, may not directly apply to how you want to do life. But learning is an ongoing experience. Even for us who are in this field, our clients teach us something. They give us perspective on things. So as women, I would say, calm your she-go, because sometimes when the she-go overtakes you, it's a sign of insecurity.
Yep, it is.
Right? And I'm sure you can give tons of examples where that overtakes you because you feel a need to say, me, I'm here. You got to hear my voice. I'm always like, no, I don't always have to speak. I don't always have to say something. Sometimes walking into a room, if your she-go is not leading, people will notice you have shown up. Your aura will lead the way because you have the wisdom, going back to that verse, to know your timing, when to speak. Because there are wary people out here, but we can't suffocate them because our she-go is saying, pour it out. No. Sometimes wisdom is, let me wait for my timing, because sometimes we break people because we are trying to suffocate them with information. So, you know, I could go, but
Woo! Thank you. Oh my gosh, I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. Those are so many. Please say that verse again. Isaiah
50, verse 4.
Isaiah 50, verse 4. I'm totally gonna journal about that, because that's an amazing scripture, and a way, because I think of it as affirmations too for our friends on here. If you don't have a Bible, you don't use a Bible, you can think of that particular verse as an affirmation that you can write and work and use for yourself, about having a wise tongue and knowing when to speak and not silencing your voice when you should speak, and then also knowing when to be quiet, because you'll have a greater impact by your silence and your aura. And for the rest of us who maybe you're like, what's an aura? It's the energy that God created us with. And it's when you walk in a room and people say, oh, you're glowing, I can feel your presence. You know, that's what they're talking about.
Yeah.
So, oh my goodness, this is so good. Thank you so much. I think I have so many questions, and I'm like, you know, we can be here forever. So
I know.
So I'm going to remind everybody. So on Saturday, this coming Saturday, March 11th, we have what we call Promoting African Mental Health. And we have our first conversation on Women's Month. We're going to be talking with Dr. Lilian and a lot of you guys. So please be sure to register, and we'll be able to talk about you'll be able to join us in the webinar. So go out and get the book, Dare to Dance in the Rain. So do you want them to go to Amazon, or can they go to lilianodera.com? Where do you want them to go to get the book?
I mean, you can get it from anywhere. You can get it from Amazon and they'll ship it to you. But I always say, if you order it from me, from my website, lilianodera.com, I will autograph it for you. And I may throw in some chusky in there, something, a gift in there. If you order it from my website, I will autograph it. And I really pretty much ship everywhere.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. So everybody, please go to, it's lilianodera.com. And I'm going to put the link on the Facebook too. And when we upload it on YouTube, I'll make sure the link is on there as well. Go get that book and just have your spirit, your soul, your whole self get blessed.
Absolutely. And again, to echo just what Julie is mentioning, please join us on the weekend as we talk about women's health. We really are excited to have a chat about just how we can empower each other as women, how to stay in motion, stay active, and how to manage our emotions, embrace our emotions, and just manage them in a healthy way. Because again, like we're talking about earlier with adaptability, sometimes we are ashamed of our emotions because of how they've been perceived in society, when people say you're too dramatic, or you're too loud, or too emotional. Are you PMSing? Is that why you're moody, and all that? So we're going to take time to talk to women about embracing your emotions. There is no emotion that has shame attached to it, because God created every one of those.
Yes.
But you don't want them to overtake you. So we want you to be able to express your emotions in a healthy way, in a way that's not distractive to the people around you. And then, of course, we've been really building on this theme of self-compassion for sure, which I'm so glad, Julia, you brought that up. So I'm going to let you say something about the self-compassion. We're going to talk about that too.
Yeah, we're going to talk about self-compassion, because that's the one area where women, we beat ourselves up. Other people beat us up and then we add on top of it. So self-compassion is literally having the same regard for yourself that you show to others. But we're going to go deeper than that. You know, anytime we have a conversation on PAM, we go deeper than that.
We do. So
we're going to help you have that conversation. We're going to have an honest conversation. You guys get to interact with us. We get to interact with you. And again, that's this Saturday. I believe it's at 11 a.m. I'm going to post the link again up on my Facebook as well. Dr. Lil already has it on her page, but so you can register on there. So what's been happening today is that my Zoom has been glitching every now and then. It's having moments. It's having its moments. So I'm just thankful that Dr. Odera, you were able to join us.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I so appreciate you. And it's a beautiful ride together with you, serving God and also providing services to our communities, both professionally and at the community level. I totally have a blast with you.
Amen. Thank you. Well, everybody, this was Let's Talk Live with Julia. Again, thank you for tuning into my Facebook Live show. Today, we had the honor of having Dr. Lilian Odera, clinical psychologist, author, educator, speaker, singer, extraordinary woman. And I am honored to call her my friend. So everybody have a wonderful rest of the day.